Welcome to the Audies.
Thank you.
Tell me, if you would please introduce yourself and tell us which book you're representing tonight.
Michael Kramer and Words of Radiance by Brandon Sanderson, which is the second of a projected 10-book series in the Stormlight Archive series. 48 hours, I want to say, that I co-narrated with my wife, Jennifer Mendenhall, goes by the name of Kate Redding in terms of her narrator nom de voice or nom de mic or whatever it is. Yeah. And it's a fascinating book. I've been working with Brandon for probably the last 5 years. He finished the Robert Jordan Wheel of Time series, the last book, which became 3 books.
Right.
This is the first of, 10? I've also recorded his Rhythmatists series, which is a young adult series, and then all of the Mistborn, but then he decided to, after he did the trilogy, he's now expanded it and then continuing it later on. So I've been working with Brandon for quite a while.
Are there particular challenges to performing fantasy?
Some of the challenges are keeping track of the names. When you have a 45-hour book, and this is just one of 10, we have a glossary of names. With Robert Jordan, I want to say it was about, there was over 1,000 characters. And when you don't do a book every year, it can be 2 years. In this case, it'll be almost 3 years between. It's like, okay, how did I pronounce that? And then they come up with their own languages and their own words, and so that's keeping track of that. And he's been very good about having a staff to support you with that.
Does he have a pronunciation in mind when he's writing the word out or not?
Sometimes he does. There is some. Robert Jordan, when we first started doing his, we literally got on the phone like halfway through the first 2 books and said, first book, and it was like, there's a lot of words that are not in your glossary, and he said, whatever you think is right. And I know from talking to his wife, agent, and editor, that he would listen to how we had done the books when he would prepare to write the next one.
Oh.
So he was very happy with them. Part of it is you get a sense of the feel. Language is so fascinating in that a word, a name will evoke something. So whether it's Chinese, French, there's something there, how it sounds affects you.
Yeah.
And so when you start to get a sense of the story, creating the names and creating that language is important, and it's important to the author. And so with this, we've had specific things, and then clearing names that he didn't have, we would be sending him back in. With this particular book, this series, I remember I got the first one, and it's written in from points of view, female, male.
Right.
And I remember you get this stack of, at that point they weren't sending him by email.
Right,
It was still a paper galley. And so you get this wedge of stuff, and you're like, okay, well, what's this like? And I started kind of glancing through it, just thinking, well, I'll take a look at it, because it was 10 o'clock at night. And thinking, well, what's this going to be like? At about midnight, I moved from my bedroom, because my wife had gone to sleep, to the bathroom, because it's like, at least that way I won't keep her up. At 3 o'clock in the morning, I'm sitting on the floor in the bathroom, and I'm like, I can't put this down.
Wow.
I can't put this down. That was book 1. Book 2 just kind of picked up where book 1 left off. So it's a fascinating series. With so many of the fantasy books, I think there's a real... Redemption is always a big theme. I think I've got 5 different fantasy series going right now from various people, but redemption seems to be a big theme, and it certainly is with Brandon's work.
What's it like working with your wife? Do you feel as if you're taking your work home every night, or?
Well, we have our studios literally in our basement, so our commute is down the stairs, which is always great. We share stuff back and forth, but part of it is sometimes the stories really don't intersect, and so it's like, no, you do your thing, I'll do mine, and then that character will intersect into that world and be like, oh, well, this is what I thought of him, but the writer always has to kind of bring that in anyway in terms of making sure that that's clear. My wife's a brilliant narrator.
Right.
She's nominated tonight on her own in addition to this nomination.
Right.
We approach things a little bit differently, and part of that is just the instruments that we have, the various instruments. So it's like having someone who knows what you do and has a whole different perspective, so they can say, well, what about this, what about this, what about this? We have both listened to each other's narration. She did A Secret Garden, which was to die for.
Right.
And in what fantasy allows you to do Yeah, especially when you have 48 hours. It's 48 hours, okay. And for people, there are people who write us routinely and say, you know, I listened to all of Wheel of Time, which is over 400 hours. And I've listened to it multiple times. And so they feel like they know you.
Right, sure.
Because you have been in their
You've been in their
lives
car, you've been
for
at the gym
400
with them.
hours.
Yeah.
I mean,
yeah.
that's, but it also asks you, because you've got 1,000 characters, what's the voice? How do you do this? And fantasy gives you that license to everything. There are voices that I would never have tried, but because it's like, well, it's 45 hours, try it here. You know, there was a voice I created in Wheel of Time, Loyal's voice, which was like, he has a 3-page monologue. He's 9 feet tall. He has this voice which, you know, moves mountains. How are you going to capture that? And so there was a voice that I tried. It became my favorite voice in the whole series.
Go ahead.
Yeah, Loyal had this really deep voice, and he would, you know, speak. But how do you, making it clear at the same time, because he had a 3-page monologue to start him off. But he became a favorite character of the readers because he was so wonderfully warm and whatever. But you really go to, it's like, okay, as we say in the acting world, it's like, there's the low voices. It's like, okay, I need everything off that low shelf because this is the barkeep, this is the waitress, this is the servant, this is the whatever. You have to use them all. You have 48 hours to entertain people with, and it's challenging in that regard, but it's also so liberating. And what's also great about it, in a sense, it's like you disappear. You disappear into these characters, and that is, you know, what the author is like. You're not. Your voice is the voice of Rand. Your voice is, you know, in this case, it would be Kaladin and Shallan and all these different characters that you have.
Well, I wish you and all of those characters success tonight. Thank you for
very
talking
much.
with us. Thank you.